Hallorann's psychic abilities have been proven, but there's only so much he can do stuck on base pointing at maps, and we're running out of time. Put him in the air. Step right up.
Hallorann! Hallorann!
Do you know what they do to kitty killers in Shawshank?
It won't matter what we tell them unless we can show them proof. Can you help us or not?
Step right down. Step right down.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. HBO released the trailer for IT Welcome to Derry Episode 3. There's a whole bunch of footage here, mostly focusing on the Losers Club 2.0 coming together and Dick Hallorann learning all about Pennywise's backstory during what seems like the 1930s period, even seeing a little bit of his actual lair. There's also the next big reference to another Stephen King story that they're crossing over with during this as well, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. Given all the characters are so worried about the Cold War and nuclear mutually assured destruction, felt appropriate to wear my Fallout t-shirt for this. We will also be getting Fallout Season 2 episodes at the end of this year in December. I will also be doing videos for all of them as well. It seems like the title of Episode 3 is Now You See It, which is a reference to the magic trick, Now You See It, Now You Don't. They're literally releasing another movie with that premise really soon. They just released a trailer for that. But it seems like we're going to spend a lot of time at this circus, which seems like it's from the 1908 period, and Pennywise's circus basically where he originally got the idea to become Bob Gray the Clown. So that's the idea, is that Bob Gray was a real circus performer that Pennywise was inspired to take the identity of, becoming the visage that you see during the IT movies, the actual clown itself. They kind of got into that during the IT movies where you actually see Bill Skarsgard as Bob Gray without the white makeup, then putting the white makeup on and scarring his face so that he looks more like Pennywise in present day. But it's meant to be Pennywise remembering Bob Gray as he used to exist in the 1908 period. Zoom and enhance on the Ironworks explosion. It's actually part of the intro, and you see it during the IT movies. There's Pennywise the Clown's cart there. It didn't belong to it, the entity that became Pennywise. It belonged to Bob Gray, who was the clown that then Pennywise took the identity of.
You haven't saved any of them.
My assumption is that up to this point, Pennywise has just been using different types of forms. Like we see his original form when he first came to Earth and fought the Native Americans. It seemed like he was using the form of a giant bird. I think the fact that they started out with him coming back as a mutant baby when the cycle was starting again, like he was just coming out of hibernation, the mutant baby with the wing was meant to be a sly reference to that, the idea that Pennywise took many different forms. They actually said doing Pennywise's origin was a big part of the series, so we'll learn more about his backstory. Now You See It is also meant to be a reference to Dick Hallorann's shining ability to literally see things, like he gets visions of the past, his psychic ability to look at dead people. He's watching this as if he's actually there. Even looks like he sees himself, like perceives himself inside actual Pennywise's lair, even though he's not going to be there. But just starting at the beginning of the trailer, and this is all footage from Episode 3, not from other future episodes beyond that. So it starts in the military base where you see General Shaw talking to Hallorann's commanding officer who was yelling at him in the last week's episode about finding stuff faster, like it's taken forever, we need to find this. General Shaw acknowledges knowing all about his psychic abilities, so the military knows all about the Shining, even if they don't totally understand how it works. Claiming that it's taking him too long the way they're working right now, so they want to put him in a plane and just fly over the Derry area to see if he can actually locate stuff even faster, and it seems like it causes him to have way more visions in way closer proximity, just because he passes over so many artifacts tied to Pennywise that they're looking for. This will remind you that Leroy Hanlon and his partner here are actual pilots, so Shaw says, take Hallorann up into the air and they fly him around town. So at this point, Leroy Hanlon only knows what they're looking for, but it's kind of nebulous, like he hasn't actually seen anything crazy yet. Inside the plane, when they're flying over these areas, it's not totally clear what Dick Hallorann is actually looking at inside this box. It seems like it's tied to something connected to the circus in the 1908 time period. Maybe it's something connected to this little boy here because he's hearing things as if he's hearing it from the little boy's perspective, with the circus performer saying, "Step right up." Leroy catches him having one of his shining visions and can't quite tell what's going on, like, "You look all trippy."
Step right up.
Hallorann!
They flash briefly to the prison with the police chief talking to Ronnie's father about Shawshank Prison. You remember the Stephen King, next big Stephen King Easter egg, actually wrote Shawshank Redemption. Probably one of the best, if not the best, prison movie of all time. Ronnie starts to see graffiti on her locker. Hatchet Hank is what all the kids are calling her father. Saying that he's going to fry is making fun of him being electrocuted in the electric chair. Then probably a big surprise, maybe not a surprise, Lily is back in school. She's not in Juniper Hill Medical Facility, the mental hospital, anymore. I actually thought she was going to be in there a little bit longer, but I'm assuming at some point during the episode she gets out, so maybe they were just evaluating her inside that place. She and Ronnie argue about what to do next. Nobody's going to believe them, so Lily thinks they need to get some evidence and pulls out her camera, which is where they go to find the other members of the Losers Club, Will and his new friend. Will seems like he's bringing the scientific method and just giving them some basic facts like, okay, we should be looking over here. This is how we need to actually capture him on film. This is how we're going to prove that he actually exists. Like a fundamental scientific experiment, observation. We hear a little more of the circus barker saying step right up, chanting in the background again. Then the Losers Club at night getting ready to investigate Pennywise, and it seems like they go into either a cemetery or some building here that looks a little bit like a cemetery. There are a couple scenes of what seem like them actually going to the Barrens at some point like they did during the It movies, but I don't know if they go to the Barrens yet. This just seems like Will is taking the camera inside this space here, like this dark passageway, to try and catch a picture of actual Pennywise. Part of the problem with that the kids do not realize yet is that Pennywise controls all space-time reality inside Derry, so he could change whatever pictures that he wants. So even if they did capture a picture of Pennywise that they could show an adult, Pennywise could just mess with the picture so that it looks like anything, or because of his possession ability, he could make it so that the adults don't even care or don't actually see anything on the paper, even if it's actually there. Like a Westworld situation, that doesn't look like anything to me. Not totally clear what this creepy dude in the dark is, staring. Maybe this is during the 1908 flashback period, during this circus flashback. Then it actually seems like Dick Hallorann sees Pennywise's lair down in the sewers, and he sees all the bodies, like that mountain of trash that Pennywise has collected and all the bodies floating around it as the front of that Pennywise truck opens up. This is meant to be the one from the 1908 period that you saw in the photo that belonged to Bob Gray that Pennywise basically just took. Gonna take this and put it down in my underground lair. When it opens up, they transition to Pennywise's yellow eyes staring back at someone, him probably, from the dark. Not clear if this scene is connected to the scene of the Pennywise truck opening up. But I think one of the big ideas is that Pennywise himself doesn't actually come on screen. Like they're still just seeing the edges of him, his eyes glowing in the darkness, and we won't actually see him running around physically in broad daylight where the characters can say, oh, this is a clown running around trying to kill us, till like episode 4, maybe episode 5. There's a little bit of footage of Dick Hallorann eating dinner at Leroy's house. He still seems very calm here, like he hasn't started freaking out, which we also see during the trailers, so maybe this is also earlier in the season as well. Some of the other real big Stephen King Easter eggs too are like the mist overtaking the town. That doesn't seem like it's till like a much later episode. There's also a scene in one of the trailers where you see Dick Hallorann just spooked ghost white telling them that something bad is coming, basically talking about Pennywise. I don't know if that's going to be from like the end of episode 3 or another future episode, because he does seem very shocked to see Pennywise's lair during episode 3. Maybe he just starts to sense Pennywise's power, like, oh, this is going to be real bad. I don't know exactly what's going on, but it's going to be real bad. And then they slowly start to see more and more of actual Pennywise. Bring in Leroy Hanlon, bring in the guy that can't experience fear, because we are all very terrified right now. There's also a lot of footage of the military at the well house with the Native Americans and the kids with separate Native Americans learning about Pennywise's backstory going back millions of years. That also probably doesn't happen till much, much later episodes. Just because it seems like they've already soft renewed the show for season 2, it'll be interesting to see what they try to do with the story in season 2, because these artifacts, like, it seems like they would wrap that plot up by the end of season 1, where they actually find Pennywise's body, or maybe they push that to season 2. They can actually still tune that just a little bit. Typically, real big shows like this plan for at least like 3, 4, even 5 seasons, so you have to imagine what a version of that would look like. Like, how do they play this out if you kind of know what's going to be happening by the events of the It movie? So you kind of know where Pennywise needs to end up, and you kind of know where some of the characters wind up, but there's a lot in the middle that they can actually play with. It's a little bit like what's happening with HBO in House of the Dragon in the Game of Thrones universe, where like they have some written material about a certain period of time, but they're expanding upon that because not a lot is written about everything during that time period. Just a lot of notes about different characters, like a glorified wiki of characters. Side note too, George R. Martin had a very famous, very funny meeting with Stephen King where they actually talked about their writing process. And one of the jokes was George R. Martin asked Stephen King, how do you write so fast? Because obviously, very infamously, probably not going to finish Winds of Winter for like the next decade.
How the f do you write so many books so fast?
One of the reasons for this is that George R. Martin is a perfectionist, so he just takes forever to finish what he thinks is the perfect story. Stephen King, however, is just happy to write. Like anything, any idea that comes into his head, he will just boom, get it out as fast as possible. So this is why not all Stephen King stories are created equal, like some are vastly better than others, but there is a mountain of Stephen King stories, most of which we're actually seeing reference throughout the series here. Like we'll see a whole bunch of different Stephen King Easter eggs. Just besides the Shawshank Easter egg, we'll see which other Stephen King stories they also rope into episode 3 and episode 4. This is just going to be one of those series where you're expecting most of the big characters to die by the end of the season, with a few exceptions. Like there are a couple people that have to survive for plot reasons in later stuff, but most of them could die horribly and it won't change things. Feels like we're back in Game of Thrones territory, a game of Pennywises. There's a lot going on during this trailer, so if you spotted any Easter eggs or references that I didn't talk about during the video, just write them below in the comments. In my full episode 3 video we'll post after they release it. Really big reminder too is that won't happen until November 9th, so it's going to be a little bit longer for the full episode 3 to release. Everybody click here for that full episode 3 video. I'll update the link as soon as I post that, and click here for all my other Welcome to Derry and It episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.